What if I told you that seniors could be getting up to $6,000 back from the IRS starting next year? But before you get too excited, there's something crucial you need to know that could make or break this opportunity.
In the next few minutes, I'll break down exactly who qualifies for this massive tax deduction, the hidden income traps that could disqualify you, and the shocking reason why this benefit might disappear faster than you think. Plus, I'll reveal the other changes buried in this bill that could actually hurt seniors in ways most people aren't talking about. Welcome to Financial Area, where we cut through the confusion to bring you the financial insights that actually matter. If you want to stay ahead of tax changes that could impact your retirement, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more money-saving content. Let's start with the good news. Congress is seriously considering a brand new tax deduction specifically designed for Americans age 65 and older. This isn't just a small adjustment to existing benefits. We're talking about a potential $6,000 deduction that you can subtract from your taxable income, on top of the standard deduction you already receive. Now, I need to be clear about something important here. This is a deduction, not a tax credit. The difference matters. A tax credit directly reduces what you owe the IRS, dollar for dollar. A deduction reduces your taxable income, which then lowers your tax bill based on your tax bracket. So if you're in the 22% tax bracket, that $6,000 deduction could save you about $1,300 in actual taxes. For married couples where both spouses are 65 or older, this gets even better. You could potentially claim a combined $12,000 reduction in taxable income. That's serious money, especially when you're living on a fixed retirement income. Now, but here's where things get complicated. And this is where most people are going to get blindsided. You don't automatically qualify for the full deduction just because you're 65. There are strict income limits, and the way they're structured could catch a lot of seniors off guard. If you're single, you need to keep your income under $75,000 to get the full deduction. For married couples filing jointly, that limit jumps to $150,000. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds reasonable. I'm probably under those limits. But hold on, because this is where it gets tricky. Once you go over those income thresholds, the deduction starts disappearing fast. The Senate version uses what's called a 6% phase-out rate. That means for every dollar you earn over the limit, you lose 6 cents of your deduction. Let's say you're single and your income is $76,000. Just $1,000 over the limit. You'd lose $60 of your deduction right off the bat. If your income hits $175,000 as a single person, you'd lose the entire deduction completely. And here's what's really going to surprise people. All kinds of income count toward these limits. Your required minimum distributions from your 401k or IRA, they count. That part-time job you took to stay busy in retirement, it counts. Investment income, pension payments, even some Social Security benefits can push you over the edge. I've already seen financial advisors talking about how their clients are strategizing to keep their income just under these limits. Some are considering delaying retirement account withdrawals or reducing their work hours. The irony is that this deduction, meant to help seniors, might actually discourage them from earning additional income. Now let's talk about the Senate versus House versions because they're not the same. The House proposed a $4,000 deduction, while the Senate went bigger with $6,000. But the Senate version also has those stricter income limits I just mentioned. If both chambers pass different versions, they'll have to hash out a compromise, which means the final numbers could change completely. But here's the real kicker that nobody's talking about enough. This entire deduction has an expiration date. It's only set to last from 2025 through 2028. That's just 4 tax years. After that, unless Congress votes to renew it, the deduction disappears entirely. Why would they do this? It's a classic political move. By making the deduction temporary, lawmakers can make the overall cost of the bill look smaller on paper. It's easier to get support for a 4-year program than a permanent one. But for retirees trying to plan their finances, this creates a nightmare scenario.
Imagine you retire in 2026, counting on this deduction to help stretch your savings. You budget accordingly, maybe even make major financial decisions based on the tax savings. Then 2029 rolls around, and suddenly that deduction is gone. For people on fixed incomes, that kind of uncertainty can be devastating. And there's another problem that's going to get worse over time. Those income limits I mentioned, they're not adjusted for inflation. Let's say you're comfortably under the $75,000 limit in 2025, but as the cost of living goes up, maybe your pension or Social Security gets small cost of living adjustments. Your buying power stays exactly the same, but now you're creeping closer to that income limit. By 2028, you might find yourself phased out of the deduction entirely, even though you're not actually any better off financially. This is called bracket creep, and it's a real problem with tax policy. Many advocates are pushing Congress to index these limits to inflation, but as of right now, that's not included in the bill. Let me tell you about some other changes buried in this legislation that could actually hurt seniors, because the $6,000 deduction isn't happening in a vacuum. One major concern is a proposed change to hospital funding that could seriously impact healthcare access for seniors. Right now, states can collect what are called hospital provider taxes, which help them draw down additional federal Medicaid funds. This money supports hospitals that serve a lot of low-income and elderly patients. The Senate version of this bill would lower the limits on these taxes, potentially reducing federal support to these hospitals. What does that mean in practical terms? Hospitals, especially in rural areas, might have to cut services, delay equipment upgrades, or in worst-case scenarios, close entirely. For seniors who already struggle with healthcare access, particularly in rural communities, this could be a serious blow. The bill also includes stricter work requirements for programs like Medicaid and SNAP. Now, seniors themselves are mostly exempt from these requirements, but think about the ripple effects. If your adult children, grandchildren, or neighbors who help you with daily tasks lose access to these benefits, it could indirectly impact your support system. These trade-offs matter, and they're often buried so deep in the legislation that most people never hear about them. While you might save a few $100s from the tax deduction, other changes could make life more difficult or expensive in ways that aren't immediately obvious. So who actually benefits most from this deduction? The sweet spot seems to be middle-income retirees, people who have enough taxable income to actually benefit from a deduction, but aren't wealthy enough to get phased out. If you're living on a combination of retirement savings, part-time work, and maybe a pension, this could provide meaningful relief. But if you're already paying little or no federal income tax, this deduction won't help you much. A tax credit would be more valuable for low-income seniors, but that's not what's being proposed. And if you're a high-income retiree above those phase-out thresholds, you might see little or no benefit. Let's talk about what you can do right now to prepare for this potential change. First, take a hard look at your income sources. Add up everything: your retirement account withdrawals, Social Security, pension, part-time work, investment income, everything. See where you stand relative to those income limits. If you're close to the thresholds, start thinking about strategies to manage your income. Maybe you can delay some retirement account withdrawals, especially if you don't need the money immediately. If you're working part-time, consider whether reducing your hours might make sense from a tax perspective. But here's my most important advice. Don't make any major financial decisions based solely on this deduction. Remember, it's temporary and uncertain. The details could change before it becomes law, and even if it passes, it expires in 2028. Use it as a nice bonus if you qualify, but don't restructure your entire retirement around it. If your tax situation is complicated, and honestly, most retirees have more complex taxes than they realize, consider consulting with a tax professional. They can help you model different scenarios and figure out the best strategy for your specific situation. As this bill moves through Congress, stay informed. The Senate is expected to vote in early July, but the legislative process is unpredictable. The final version could look very different from what we're discussing today. Follow reliable news sources and maybe check in with advocacy organizations that focus on senior issues. And don't keep this information to yourself. If you have friends, family members, or neighbors who might benefit from this deduction, share what you've learned. A lot of seniors aren't aware of tax changes that could affect them, and a little knowledge sharing goes a long way.